GuitarLessons.com, the #1 name in guitar lessons online.
Hey everyone, welcome to this lesson. I had a lot of people emailing me asking me, can you do a lesson on sweeping? Can you do some more lessons on sweep picking? And so, I was like, oh, I'll get around to it or whatever. And last week, I don't know, I watched an episode of Metalocalypse or something before I went to bed, and I woke up with this riff in my head. And it was in 7/4 somehow. I just woke up, but it was in my head. So I was like, oh, that's something would be really cool to teach some like metal sweeping on. So I just made a jam track for you guys. If you want to go to the jam tracks page on guitarlessons.com, it'll be there for you to download so you can practice this. And what we're going to do is, instead of just teaching you how to sweep like, just crazy stuff like that, which you can find almost anywhere out there, or teach you how to play really slowly, like, which is not that hard to do, or really fast. Neither of those are super hard to do if you know how to do sweep picking, but if you slow the tempo down right in between really slow and really fast, you get this place where you can't just sit there and concentrate on each note, and you can't just, do a flurry of notes like that. You get this place, like the tempo of the song's about this. And it's 8 notes that I was sweeping at, so you get that, which you have to be really controlled in your sweeping motion, because, like I said, it's not really slow and it's not really fast. So instead of teaching you one of the other really basic or really advanced, I wanted to give you something that was like a riff that you could use, or an idea for a riff that you could start to use and you're playing if you're writing a metal song or something. So the first thing we have to do is learn the shapes that we're using. And this is in D minor. It's drop D for the rhythm parts, but I tuned back up to standard for the arpeggios. So the first arpeggio I'm using is a D minor arpeggio, and it's based on the E minor bar chord shape. That one. And everything in this lesson, all these sweeps are all downs, or sorry, ups. Like that. And I find the reason I wrote it like this is because I find that it helps me as a player to work just on coming up over and over again to help my sweeps, or to just go down, 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 before I start trying to throw them in together, like that. So that's why I did it like that. And you can use all ups on these arpeggios, or you can change it around and do all downs. It doesn't really matter. Just take this basic idea, and this is a good way to practice on your sweeping. So what I did, since this song is in 7/4, I made all the arpeggios to where if you play them twice, that's one measure of 7/4. So you don't really have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The arpeggios, the shapes that I'm going to teach you in the tab that you'll look at, just kind of take care of the counting for itself. So the first shape, take your index finger, and you're going to put not the tip of your finger, but kind of right here where that first joint is, on the 10th fret of your high E string. Because you're going to have to get all three, the first, second, and third strings, with your index finger, and you're going to have to roll it. So grab that first note on the 10th fret of the high E string and play that with an upstroke. Then you're going to roll that index finger over kind of in the middle of the pad of your finger to the B string on that same 10th fret. And when I roll it over, I let up on that high E string so it's muted, so it stops ringing out. And that's one of the hardest things about sweep picking and arpeggios and stuff like this, is to have only one note sounding at a time. So be really careful when you do that. So upstroke on the 10th fret of the high E string with the index finger, roll over to the B string and let up on that E. Do the same thing, roll over to the G string with the index finger and let up on that B string. so you can mute that B string so it's not ringing out. So those 3 notes, work on getting those really clean and clear and only one ringing out at a time. After those 3, you're going to come with your 3rd finger on the 12th fret of your D string, not on the tip again, but kind of in the middle of the pad of your finger. Grab that note with an upstroke again, and then roll over to the 12th fret of the A string on the tip of your finger, let up on that D strings to mute it, and hit that note with an upstroke too. Just one continuous upstroke so far, right? When you get to the 6th string, you're going to come to the 13th fret with your pinky and you keep coming up with an upstroke. And finally, you're going to end on this D with your index finger on the 6th string, 10th fret, with a downstroke this time. This is the only downstroke in this whole arpeggio. So I'll play that real slowly for you. And if you'll notice something on my right hand, watch my thumb. It's a little bit flatter right here, and the further I go back on my thicker strings, the angle gets more intense, almost where it's almost all down. Also, the angle of the pick when I'm doing all these upstrokes is more angled like this and not like this. It's a little easier to drag through the strings. If you're going up, if you're doing downstrokes, you want to do the opposite. You want to have the pick facing this way so it's a little bit easier to get through the strings. And that's what we're going to play over the first 2 measures of this progression. So you end up playing, for each measure you play the arpeggio twice. So the first 2 measures of this little jam, you're going to play this arpeggio, this D minor arpeggio 4 times.